come back for the second. India have won the test match. India have won the series. They're going to get back for two. India home. Lords goes wild.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of the 81 All Out podcast. This is your host, Siddhartha Vaidyanathan, and I'm joined by two regulars, Mahesh, who is joining us after a while, Mahesh, who is at Cornered on X. Hi, Mahesh, welcome back. And we have Ashoka, who has, of course, been around in the last many podcasts. Ashoka, who is at ABVan on X. I'll link both their handles when we put up the podcast. We're here today to talk about the T20 World Cup, primarily talking about the final, India against South Africa. India winning a pulsating contest by 7 runs. It was a game that was reminiscent of the 2019 One-Day World Cup final that was tight throughout. Played on a really good pitch, I thought, for the final. A pitch that made sure that there was no particular advantage to a team batting first or a team batting second. There was not really a change of conditions across the board. So a fine pitch gave something for everyone. There was fantastic fast bowling. There was really good hitting. There was some accumulation and some consolidation. And in the end, I mean, it came down to the last 5 overs, which were normally in most T20 games, the batting side would have had a clear advantage. But then India pulled it back. There was some terrific bowling, terrific death overs bowling there. And luck also going India's way. Let's not forget that. Because when India don't cross the finish line, we often mention how a few lucky breaks could have got them there, like the 2019 semi-final against New Zealand. But just like you had the famous, Martin Guptill run out of Dhoni there, you had like a few moments in this game as well. But overall, a terrific game. India winning their first world title after 11 years. That the Champions Trophy in 2013 was the last time. India winning their first World Cup after 13 years. That is the 2011 One-Day World Cup. And of course, no doubt giving way to spontaneous celebrations both across India and around the world. There was the stadium. I mean, unlike many other games in this World Cup, the crowd was also like, it seemed at capacity. There seemed to be a sort of a genuine sort of thrill at watching the game, the ups and downs, the heart in the mouth for, India not being able to win another final when Klaasen and Miller were batting. And of course, Klaasen and Miller both like terrific T20 players. Klaasen probably one of the all-time greats. Miller not too far behind. And it would have been, you also think about South Africa. This was a golden chance for them to pull it off. Their first World Cup final ever in any sort of format. And then they came so close to pulling off the victory. I mean, when Klaasen and Miller were batting, you would 8 out of 10 times you would give that chance to them to pull it off. But yeah, they fell short. No doubt they were gutted at the end, but hopefully their chance will come and their time will come. And a great set of players, a wonderful set of players with a tournament where they went unbeaten till the final. And most of them, have at least one, if not more than, if not 2 World Cups ahead of them. So hopefully they will get a chance to also experience the heady feeling of victory. Anyway, Mahesh, Ashoka, thoughts, big picture, overall. We're mainly talking about the final here. I mean, the semi-finals were pretty one-sided. I mean, both were largely one-sided. South Africa, Afghanistan finished in no time because of South Africa's bowling on those conditions was just too good for Afghanistan. And India, England also. India pulled off a terrific win in the conditions that suited them well, and their all-round bowling depth was just too much for England to handle at the end. So yeah, mainly talking about the final. Mahesh, thoughts?
Yeah, I think for this batch of Indian team, this batch of players, like when the 2011 World Cup win, the One Day World Cup win happened, I was quite ecstatic. Of course, I was a lot more of a partisan Indian fan at that time than I am now. But whatever it was, I felt personally happy. I was happy for Sachin and the team and all that. But personally, for me, it gave me immense pleasure. But this one, I was feeling quite happy for the players, for Rohit and Kohli and Bumrah, like the kind of uh, I don't know, like either it's like what is that? What is the term that they use? Self fulfilling sort of prophecy. Like either the media and the whole ecosystem has created this notion around them losing in finals and not crossing the final line. Either they felt it themselves, or this whole narrative is
The choker narrative.
not so much the choker. I don't. To be fair to the media, I don't think they presented them as chokers. I mean, South Africa, for instance, have been characteristically, given that tag, or have been characterized as that, which is not true. But in the case of India, I mean, okay, media has painted it in many different ways, but at the end of the day, that seems to have occupied quite a lot of, let's say, print space or words or airwaves or whatever, right? They can say whatever they want, but the way they reacted, it's very obvious that it was holding them back. It meant a lot to them, and the sort of release of pressure and all the tears, and of course also coming towards the end of their career. I was just quite happy for the fact that the best batch of Indian team ever had something to show for it. I mean, I don't think it changes anything about their legacy whether they won or lost this match. They would still be the greatest Indian team of all time and one of the greatest cricket teams of all time. But just for the fact that, I mean, okay, it's we talk about it all the time, but in the mainstream media, this is seen as something missing in India's cabinet. The fact that that kind of puts an end to this and sort of gives a closure is one part. But also, like, the players would want to have something. Let's assume that the media has been extremely fair and they're saying this is still the greatest team and whatever. As a player, you still want to have something, right? I mean, it's not like Ivan Lendl thought he cannot play Wimbledon well, but he would love to have that one title to get that closure, right? Like, I mean, Federer, for instance, if not for Soderling, wouldn't have had that one title. But that gives so much of a closure for him and fans, and that's not necessarily enhances his stature as a player, objectively speaking. But it gives a closure for, I mean, as a fan, I can say that it gives me a closure as well. So from that perspective, I was more happy for the players this time than for myself and like for the fans like me. And also, like, I felt sorry for South Africa. One of the things, I mean, it's kind of unfair for me to judge this, but I was a bit surprised that no Indian player spoke about South Africa, like in the post-match press conference and even in the sort of award ceremony and so on. I thought, it was such a close game, and South Africa kind of had it in the bag for a while. And especially for a team which has gone through this in the last, I don't know, 10, 11 years, they would understand South Africa's predicament even more, I thought. I was a bit surprised that they didn't talk about South Africa or, like sort of, which you see this in tennis all the time, right? Like, Djokovic often says, okay, it's a match that I was lucky to win and I could have lost. And so I was a bit surprised that kind of statesmanship or whatever you want to call it didn't come through, especially from Kohli and Rohit, who are like calling it over for, at least in this format, for international T20. But I mean, which is a minor thing. I can understand why it was such a huge relief for them, and they really didn't have the bandwidth to think about anything beyond their own sort of satisfaction. And I think Sid Monga wrote about this, and it is quite obvious when you have the family around and you have the kids around. It adds a little bit of more of a perspective on what they're going through, especially from a South African perspective. If you notice, one of the pleasing things for me is Rishabh Pant, even in that moment, spend some time with Quinton de Kock and his kid, and like in that, like, he had that thing with Tim Payne about being a babysitter, and that sort of came to my mind when I saw it. It is nice to see family being around and them going around with their kids. It provides them. It presents them in a sort of more human light as against just thinking of them as the supreme athletes who have either triumphed because of their ability to absorb pressure or choked because of their inability to absorb pressure. To see that, so obviously, I mean, it also helps that Bumrah's wife is also a media personality, and then to have that moment where he was hugging her after talking to her professionally as well. I think all that adds. I mean, Kohli talking. Sometimes the coverage is a bit intrusive. I was also watching the test documentary on Amazon. And Usman Khawaja scores 100 in the first innings and wins the test 100, right? At Edgbaston and wins the test. And then he walks around to his wife. His wife understands the sort of enormity of that achievement, but his kid has no clue, and she wants to be part of it, and he drags her and takes her to the press conference. I think it's lovely. I think that's a good development for Indian cricket particularly, and it's good to see them spending time with their family on the ground and kind of showing it to the rest of the world as well.
I think in terms of the understanding and the empathy, I think the fact that they all know each other now so well with the IPL, they're all teammates in the IPL. They know each other's families. I think that also adds a bit of touch to that. I mean, obviously, if Klaasen's playing with so many of these players, I mean, he's teammates with them, he's playing against them, and so obviously they sort of empathize with the fact that he couldn't pull it off. I mean, of course, they are extremely happy that they did, but I think that also makes a difference because back, earlier, I think many of these players used to meet mainly only in internationals, right? But now they meet through the year. They meet across the countries. They play in all these. I mean, at least Indian players don't, but many of these other teams, they meet even across leagues, BBL and all the Caribbean Premier League and all that. So, yeah, that definitely has made them closer. In terms of legacy, yeah, I mean, the sad part is, I mean, we keep talking about it on this podcast. The sad part is that history, at least the way we describe history in the mainstream, seems to demand that moment, right? That moment of transcendence, that moment of victory, trophy, silverware, ICC, whatever you want to call it. It is if not for that cherry, the cake doesn't exist. So, I mean, you have the whole cake below, but you want that it needs that cherry on top.
No, I mean, there are two ways of talking about it.
Saying it as a sad thing. Yeah,
there are two ways. I understand that the cherry is good, right? I mean, I would love to have a cake with a cherry, but that does not, just the fact that the cherry is not there does not diminish the cake. The cake is still lovely. And I'm just saying, I'm happy to talk about it, but Lendl is not a choker. Lendl is not someone who can't play on grass. I'm just saying, let's put the things in perspective. These are extraordinary athletes, the rarest of species on earth, the kind of skills that they possess, whether Bumrah won this final or not. Let's assume South Africa won the final. That does not diminish Bumrah as an exceptional, once in a generation, once in multiple generations cricketer. And I'm saying, let's just keep that perspective in place.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and even I've seen a lot of talk about South Africa continuing to be chokers in this game and all. Again, it's unfair. And I don't even know how you can call, the fact is, yes, you can point out to the fact that they needed 20 odd in the last 5 overs and then they didn't make it. But what about all the runs they made before that? So the fact that, that those 2 overs, they reached that stage because Kuldeep and Akshar went for all those runs in those 2 overs, right? So what about those 2 overs that got them there? So,
no, but it's a simple question of the team that they picked, right? I mean, even going into the match, I think KD tweeted about this, right? India has more depth. India has better bowling, but they have better hitting and they have a solid bowling lineup, but they have a long tail. Now, that's a conscious risk-reward sort of decision that they've taken. The point is not that they choked. The point is that after Klaasen got out, they didn't have a batting lineup, and you had Bumrah bowling. And, it is not unknown, right? Like Kohli batting like that was unknown. Now, whether it's suboptimal or not is secondary, but it's not unknown. So going into the match, you knew that South Africa had a long tail. And India would have backed themselves if Klaasen got out at that stage. So that's why each team makes their moves that they did, right? I mean, that's why South Africa sent Stubbs ahead to keep Klaasen and Miller back, because Klaasen is, of course, so extraordinary against the spinners. So keep him back against the spinners while Stubbs tries and hits early on. But India bring back Bumrah earlier than they would have liked, because Bumrah usually bowls 17th and 19th. They bring him back earlier than they would have liked, because they know that if they get Janssen, then they're into the tail. So each team is making the moves to sort of try and outdo the others to get the inefficiency of the other. So I don't see any kind of choking coming in here. No, choking is just it's really a very, very, very poor way of looking at sports, right? I mean, 2 teams have reached the finals, which means they must have played well through the tournament. to start with. They must have absorbed a lot of pressure to get here. It's not like, and also they've played a lot of finals before. I mean, to even become an international cricketer, the kind of pressure that you go through at under 19 level and then A level and at that state level, the kind of finals that they've played before. So at what level the pressure becomes the next one? Like before World Test Championship final was invented, are you saying Test cricket did not have that pinnacle of pressure before? Like, did India become chokers because they've lost 2 World Test Championship finals? And if not for that pressure, like Gavaskar never faced that pressure, Sachin never faced that pressure, Kumble never faced that pressure. Is that true? No. So at what level, like, let's say tomorrow you invent a new thing on top of all these things, right? Let's say take the winner of all the ICC trophies and create this champion of champions or something like that.
Champion of Champions League.
Yeah, then let's say you choke there. They're like, okay, Australia is good enough to do all this, but when it comes to the crunch of champions, they're not good enough. Like, it's really it's a losing game.
Yeah, it's a losing game, just like we saw Australia this time. I mean, after the 2019 World Cup, Australia apparently were the team that knew how to win on the big day. And then again, this World Cup we saw, no? They also end up losing in different ways. They lost to Afghanistan, they lost to India. So this doesn't just make sense. Anyway, Ashoka, what makes sense and what doesn't make sense? Who is come up with your thoughts?
First of all, you guys have talked 20 minutes without saying the most important thing. Thank you, Jay Shah. This is what you should be saying. You should start the pod.
Yeah,
because that's true. He promised Rohit Sharma will lift the T20 World Cup, and that has happened. But anyway, so I saw the match and thought that India were 20 short at least. And I thought India were 20 ahead in the England semi-final. But somehow we won the final despite being like 20 short. Because Bumrah is Bumrah, man. I don't know how to explain that guy. I don't think anybody knows. But also Arshdeep and Hardik were very, very good yesterday. Other than that, the only thing that you can say for South Africa is what you guys said, that they have a long tail. And it is by design how they have, structured their team. They need 5 bowling options, so they've gone with 5 proper bowlers. And those 5 proper bowlers have bailed them out a lot of times. They won by 1 run, they won by 4 runs, they won by 7 runs. And those things don't happen by accident. They have a good attack. And how they reach the final is on back of such close wins. Because they have like quality bowlers. And because they have that quality bowlers, they had to sacrifice 1 slot. Like the number 8 slot.
They structured it for the conditions also, right? And it worked out well.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. And because of that, they had to sacrifice their number 8 slot to Keshav Maharaj, who's a capable, a lower order bat in like a test for a 20-25 runs, but he's not a hitter. He can't, consistently hit sixes. So that's the risk they were taking going into the game. No, so and it worked for them. They got India to like 15-20 runs under par on this pitch. They got India to 170, which they could have chased also. They needed 30 of 30, no? So it almost worked for them. They were, unlucky not to get those extra 7 runs. But see, that the one good thing I observed about India in this tournament is they finally clicked how to set above par or par targets while batting first. This was their problem right from, I would say, even from 2015. Just because at the top, you had like 3 batsmen who batted the same, like KL Rahul, pre-reinvention, our Rohit Sharma, Kohli, all batted one way. And then you had like a thin middle because you wanted like proper bowlers. And the middle order had to, hit like in 250, 300 strike rate to make up for all the slow batting at the top. India kind of solved a lot of it. Partly by, being lucky, because this time around, I think this is the first time you had the services of Akshar, Jadeja and Hardik together without an injury for an entire tournament. And on icing on the cake was also Dubey. Now Dubey has like 50 first-class wickets at the test level. So he's not like your Deepak Huda or someone who can just come in and turn his arm over. He can actually bowl 1 or 2 overs. So India had like around 3.5 to 4 all-rounders in the playing level all the time. That made it easy for them to, at least that made it easy for Kohli, that made it easy for Rohit, Pant. Pant is a mad guy, Surya is a mad guy. But that made it easy for them to, go for it. Even in that horrible New York pitch, they went for it. They knew that they're not going to get past 140, even if they keep hitting. But they went for it. So, amazing. That one thing really helped India. What I would have found interesting is, like, India were put into bat. Because this format helps them, them batting first. This cushion of so many all-rounders, it really helps them if they bat first, then they have the quality in the bowling to, restrict the opposition. What I would have actually found interesting is if Australia, England or Bangladesh, all these 3 teams, they won the toss, they put India into bat. What if they had batted first and India would have chased? Well, even in the finals, if India were chasing like 155, 160 and they were 32 for 3, then what would have happened would have been very interesting to see. That actually did not happen to them. The one time they were under pressure while chasing was in that USA game where USA made 110. Surya Kumar Yadav and Dubey somehow slowly batted them out of trouble and won them the game. Otherwise, the other time they chased, I think they hammered Ireland. But they never chased in other than those 2 matches. So you have to say luck favored them a lot. They designed for this eventuality and they tested this eventuality 5-6 times before entering the final. And, in the final, actually in the finals, they reverted back to type. Kohli started stat padding a lot. I was afraid this guy is again getting 49 ball
batting
50.
responsibly, you mean?
Yeah, man.
But then they left him with no option, right? He had to.
Because the 3 wickets that fell were like the 3 people who actually bailed India out in a lot of matches, like Sky, Pant and Rohit Sharma. Actually, those were our top 3 scorers in this tournament. So he had no option. But yeah, Akshar saved our asses, man. Akshar saved us at least 2-3 times I could think of in this World Cup. Amazing that we had Akshar, amazing that we had Jadeja, and amazing that India, played both of them. They were both of the same skill, and India continued playing them. India dropped Siraj to pick Kuldeep. India did a lot of funky, nice, bold things in this World Cup, and it paid off for them. All of these things that I've mentioned, a lot of it could have gone wrong. A lot of it could have gone pear-shaped. But luckily for them, it all came through. Everything worked as intended and designed. So
yeah, having someone like Akshar who can bowl in the power play, who can bat, who can be the floater, bat basically anywhere, and especially they used him really well with the left-right combination, with the matchups. Because they know Akshar's strength, right? They know Akshar's strength to hit over mid-wicket, hit down the ground, hit the spinners. That the use of Akshar was fantastic, and he's also such a versatile cricketer to have. Any team in the world would give an arm and a leg to have a player like Akshar. He's so good, and what a fielder. Not just batting and bowling, and even fielding, taking those magnificent catches. He's gold. He's like T20 royalty, and he did have a costly over yesterday, but so what? What he gave you was sort of more than made up for a bad over, which happens to anyone in T20. It happened to Mitchell Starc. So you're probably the best bowler going around. So Yeah.
And I'm not even sure that's a bad over. That was just exceptional hitting. I mean,
exceptional hitting. Correct. Yeah.
With Stark, at least you could argue it was like, going for broke, and he could perhaps pull the length back, and at least after a couple of sixes and whatever. But with this one, I can't really fault him. I mean, he bowled. He was not like flighting and tossing it up or whatever. He fired it in, and Klaasen still has so much time. And full ball, okay, he whacks it down long on is fine. Slightly shorter, he's able to hit. He doesn't even rock back. It's pretty much off the front foot of a relatively short ball, and he hits it over covers, and he hits it well past the boundary rope. That's a lot of power. That's a lot of
What
power.
front foot, man? I don't think he has any front foot, back foot. He just has a stance, and then he just rotates his hip this way and that way. That's it. And then it's. I mean, T20 is moving a lot towards golf, man. I mean, this guy and Fraser McGurk, who we will see in years to come, they are all like proper golfing guys, just punting balls like 100, 200 meters outside. Amazing.
No, and I find it amazing how different players are finding ways to solve this problem in different styles, right? Like Surya has found a really novel way with his wrist work and with his the shape that he gets into to solve this problem. Quinton de Kock also, he has found a similar way, like almost similar to Surya, but he doesn't have the wrist work of Surya to do it. But Klaasen, on the other hand, has gone the other way. He's almost like, in terms of where he's hitting, it's very, very traditional. It is pretty much like the V. He's the master of the V, but the way he's hitting the V, nobody has done before, because he has sort of reworked his technique and found a way to do that with his immense power and immense sort of. So it's really interesting to see the various kinds of players who are coming through, and it's far more it's fun, and it's also great to observe.
I was a bit surprised with Sky's dismissal, though. I mean, like maybe he was perhaps trying to. I mean, the one thing that you always associate with Sky is he always plays the field. So I was a bit surprised that he picked the one fielder that was there. But I guess he was trying to hit it more square.
Yeah. He was not trying to hit it that fine. That ball got slightly big on him. Otherwise, he was trying to hit front of the square. It went to fine leg.
Interesting, you mentioned Sky, Mahesh. We forgot the other guy who picked out the one fielder who was also right there. Hit it straight to him.
Full toss, man. In the final. Irresponsible guy, man.
The full toss was not him. The full toss was Pant.
What? Full toss? No, he also full toss only. No, he didn't let it pitch. No, he just swept it.
Is it? Okay.
Right. Yeah. Right.
It was basically, even 2 feet here or there, that would have been fine. He just happened to hit it straight in. But anyway, so let's first of all forget all these guys. Let's talk about the greatest bowler of our generation, who we have been privileged enough to watch across formats. Who, when he goes to West Indies, I think air in the West Indies itself is like that's how Jasprit Bumrah becomes like a superhuman creature immediately after that. Not that he's not done well elsewhere, but somehow in the West Indies, he seems to bowl magic ball after magic ball on demand. Like you say, Jasprit Bumrah bowl a magic ball, he will bowl a magic ball. I mean, there is, if at all there was any point of time where any cricketer has reminded me of Shane Warne at his peak, it was Jasprit Bumrah in this tournament. I mean, it was like, there were times when Shane Warne could do what you would imagine he would do, right? Or what, it was like, okay, Shane Warne is going to get a wicket with a magic ball, and he would. And this was like, the ball to Reza Hendricks would have been the ball of a test match. Across any test match. I mean, there's no way you can play that ball. The best batsman in the world cannot play that ball. Reza Hendricks, as good a player as he is, couldn't play that ball. Marco Jansen, again, I mean, where is this coming from? It's just like perfectly pitched, moving, beating the bat, no chance at all, beating all the defenses. And Marco Jansen is not a bad batter. He's a good T20.
Dude, he covered the line of the ball, man. Marco Jansen covered the line of the ball. That ball was, coming in at such a steep angle. What the hell will anybody do? And at 140.
This was Serious
There
stuff.
was another magic ball that didn't get a wicket. The first ball of the 18th over, I think, he bowled to Miller. He came around the wicket, he bowled.
Yes.
It went in, and then it just left him. Miller was trying to,
Yes.
hit it to the leg side. It went out, man. It left him.
Yeah, and then there were a few more. I mean, there were a few more that just went past the fielders. There were edges. I mean, it was like nobody throughout the tournament. There has been nobody who has been able to confidently play him over a stretch. I mean, this is bowling mastery taken to another level. And the thing is, of course, we have seen Bumrah's bowling mastery in Test and ODIs, but to be able to do that with all the constraints that T20 gives you is just, I don't know if we have ever seen anything like this.
Actually, the Shane Warne comparison is interesting because I was also thinking about Shane Warne from a different angle, that Shane Warne also has the added advantage of batsmen playing him even before they play him, right? And Bumrah has an advantage. I mean, one is like, given the bowling lineup that they're playing, they will like to play out Bumrah, right? I mean, if he's bowling the 18th over, and Arshdeep and Hardik are going to bowl the 19th and 20th, naturally there is a forced advantage that Bumrah has because they would try to play him out. I mean, that's a forced advantage only if you want to say, if you want to protect runs, but it's not a good advantage if you want to take wickets. But even then, okay, sure, they're playing your perception first, and then they're playing the reality next. But the reality, even without the perception, is so good. How can you not miss the line? How can you not miss the length? Sure, okay, you have the advantage of them playing Bumrah, the sort of brand Bumrah. But still, it is possible for you to bowl a wide. It is possible for you to miss the line or the length. How can you be so precise? And how can you be so consistent? I mean, like the leap of, we've always had a good lineage in batting, right? Like, the story of Gavaskar to Tendulkar to Kohli has been repeated so many times. We also used to think of our fast bowling like that, right? There was a couple Dev to Srinath to Zahir and whatever. But Jasprit is not like anybody else. It is, we've been watching him for so long. We are used to him producing these results so often. But I still feel so privileged. I mean, okay, I actually wanted to say this now that we brought it up. To understand how good Jasprit is, we got the proof today morning, right? When Kartikeya wrote his review of the World Cup final. And he's writing fluff. He's saying Rohit Sharma gave the ball. Yeah, he rubbed the magic lamp and the genie came out and produced the results. I mean, that is how good Bumrah is. That he got
KD to write stuff that KD would himself scoff at. Yeah.
I mean, genie is a perfect sort of description of Bumrah, really. I mean, he's not just Rohit Sharma's genie. He's Indian cricket fans' genie. He's giving us things way beyond what we asked for.
No, the only reason I think about Shane Warne is because of the fact. See, I understand the point you're making about Bumrah having the advantage of brand Bumrah. But then if you see both Reza Hendricks and Marco Jansen, they are not trying to hit him. They are plainly trying to get the ball away. They're just trying defense because it's like pretty clear. They know that, let's play this guy out. But that is also not possible.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's incredible. The fact that he goes for, let's say, 4 runs is understandable. One, he's a damn good bowler. And also they're trying to sort of defend him out. But even when they're trying to defend him out in a T20, which should be relatively easy, they're not being successful. That's how good he is.
Reminded me of not only Warne, it also reminded me of Suckling. Because there was a long period of time when people said that if a batsman didn't try and hit Suckling, then they would be able to play him. The only reason he was getting wickets in one-dayers was because they were trying to hit him and he was getting the wickets. Then he comes to India to play the Test series in 99 and is unplayable. It doesn't matter what batters are trying, he's just unplayable, right? So, and that was one series. Bumrah has been doing this for over years, across series, across conditions, across, so that is his range. That is his
No,
level.
I mean, have you seen the evidence of the other side as well? Like Travis Head hit him for 3 boundaries, right?
In the World Cup final.
No, in this World Cup. In this World Cup. In Super 8s. Travis Head hit him for 3 boundaries. It's not because Bumrah missed his line or length or whatever. Travis Head was exposing all his stumps and he was cutting him, right? And the 4th time he tried to do it, like after he's set, now you expect Travis Head to be like in form and set and assess the pitch and all that. Bumrah, the same action.
Big match player.
Yeah. And actually, Australia are a little bit ahead at that time. And this guy comes and bowls with the same action, and Travis Head is now again exposing his thumbs. With the same action, the ball comes like 20-25 kilometers slower. And that guy is too quick into the shot. It just spoons up and Rohit takes the catch. And it's not like this guy is, having it easy because players are now playing him out. Even when players are trying to hit him, it is really, really hard to hit him, man. It is not that easy. And for all the hits he got, I think he went less than 30 in 4 overs in that match, I think, against Australia. In a match where 200 played 180. This guy is going at 6.5 something per over.
So I mean, saying you have basically, he has 24 balls, right? You have 24 balls, but how he can bring in the most out of every single sort of ball within that, and how he can, essentially a team says, okay, play out Bumrah, you have 16 overs and we'll go for broke in that. But even within that, how he's sort of suffocating them to make sure that even if they are playing him out, they are still going to take enormous amount of risks against the other bowlers. And even within that, even if they're playing him out, still they are going to get unplayable balls where they will still get out. This is like he's working at the most narrowest of narrow ranges and is pulling it off every single time. It's unbelievable. Like I have never seen an Indian fast bowler like this. And even in the world, across the world, apart from peaks, there have been bowlers with peaks around who have been like this, but this guy has just been extending it for so long.
Today KD is not there. So there will be nobody.
Let's not mention the C word.
Nobody Nobody.
No, but even KD would admit that the man is in a different league in T20.
In any format, man.
Cummins, Bumrah is pretty close in Test. Cummins is perhaps a better bowler. But when you include one day in T20, it's a slightly different ball game.
I don't agree, but okay, let's not get into Cummins.
No, at the moment, it's fair to argue that Cummins is marginally better. But it's not to say that, of course, he's played more matches, he's taken more wickets and so on. Bumrah will get there. But when it comes to all formats, I think Bumrah is standout spectacular.
Oh, he's unbelievable, and it's hard to emphasize. A lot of listeners may be on the younger side here. It's hard to emphasize how much of a privilege it is to watch Bumrah bowl, simply because such a bowler does not come along. Once Bumrah is done, we probably have to wait for another 30 years or forever before such a bowler comes along. It's so hard. It's like, and what Mahesh was saying in terms of the lineage, I think Mohammad Shami is the apex of that lineage. So it started with Kapil and Shami and Siraj, even Siraj. Siraj is probably the latest. Shami and Siraj are the latest in that line. But Bumrah does not belong to that line. Bumrah belongs to some other sort of dimension that is just, he's floating around. You cannot connect a dot with Jasprit Bumrah in it. He's in a different chart altogether. So yeah,
it's like saying 1 + 1 is 2, 2 + 1 is 3, and then 3 plus something is 7,800 something. You just suddenly you'll end up at 7,800, and you're like, "Hi, how did I get here?"
No, it's like saying 3 + 3 is 7, Ashoka, because the answer to all questions in life is 7. You know that, right?
Yeah, of course.
Including the margin of victory.
Don't bring 7 into this, man. This is the most shameful thing that happened yesterday are people saying Tala for a reason.
7, right? Yeah. The strawberry fields are blooming. The strawberries are growing. Anyway, let's not bring Tala into this now. Now that we have decided Cummins, we brought Tala. I don't know what else will come in.
How can Ashoka not bring up Tale? He's got 2 of his boys there, Dubey and Jadeja.
Ashoka, don't think we forgot about you cursing Dubey through that Indian innings. Huh? Don't think. You're saying Dubey is an all-rounder and now you're glorifying him.
No.
Great.
in certain circles, as I told you yesterday, in certain circles, I started a conspiracy theory saying that Dubey and Jadeja are in the team because Dhoni does not want another Indian to win a World Cup. So till he is alive, he'll keep sending CSK players as undercover agents to sabotage all World Cups. This was my conspiracy theory that I was floating till yesterday. But once they won, immediately I changed it, saying that, see, it is because of Dhoni that we won. Because nobody was planning to take Dubey. But Dhoni said, see, this guy at one key moment, he will win the match for you. And Dubey has, done key things in this World Cup. So I've changed my theories. It's very important to be flexible with your theories.
And I don't know what is this. I know he has this reputation of hitting spinners and sort of monstering spinners, but he's not that bad against pace. I mean, he's basically he stands and swings, right? I mean,
see, as long as you bowl slightly full to him, he's going to swing, man. I mean, spinner or pacer, it doesn't matter. He's just going to swing. The only thing is you have to bowl short of a good length, and especially with like huge squares. If you bowl it like in good pace, you can expect a top edge to either fine leg or a square leg.
See, that's the problem with this whole. I know Kohli did the right thing, and he didn't have much of a choice once you lose 3 wickets and all that. But this whole idea of consolidation and anchor and batting through the innings gets problematic in T20 because that sort of the crisis that you're talking about is for a very finite time. And the moment you overdo it, even by 2 years, it costs you quite a bit. You have someone like Hardik sitting in the dugout, and you don't even give him 2 full overs.
See, 34 for 3, your argument is you're going to shield all your hitters until, correct time. But at the end of the day, Dubey played 16 balls, Hardik played 2, Jadeja played 2. So they only got 20 balls. You have shielded them way too much. You have actually not given them the strike. And this is a guy, Hardik got 50 of 20, no? In like couple
and he's been in
before.
good hitting form, and he's been hitting in all kinds of wickets, even in wickets which are not conducive for stroke play. He's found unique ways of trying to generate momentum and clear the boundary and so on. It's not a criticism. And to be fair to Kohli, he tried to hit, he could not hit. Which is very I'm not talking about Kohli's limitation as a T20 player. Like even in his ODI or Test mode, there are balls that he would have comfortably hit for 4s. At his best, but a lot of short balls, he basically struggled to time the ball, and he still sort of. I mean, I think Katie mentioned it either in our chat or on Twitter. I don't remember. That's basically how competitive the guy is. That whether he's able to connect or not, he's still able to sort of, go through that hard phase and still manage to hit a couple of big sixes. Right? I mean, the 6 that he hit of Janssen. Came right out of the screws, a phenomenal hit. So, we can all discuss about Kohli's limitation as a T20 player, but a lot of that comes from the fact that he's an extraordinary batsman.
And he's built his whole, his greatness is built on being risk-free, man. Like imagine, you have built like the perfect method to get risk-free, which has made you so good in one-dayers, like extraordinary in one-dayers and so good in tests. And then you have to get into a format where risk has to be taken and not eliminated. That is a fundamental change. I mean, it's like you're changing the laws of physics, for him. It's not easy, man. And to his eternal credit, he has tried. He has tried to, adapt as much as he can. I mean, he doesn't, I think you mentioned, he doesn't do anything out of the ordinary in terms of strokes. It's not like he's moving across the stumps and trying to flick, or he's not doing the ramp. He's not doing anything that, Quinton de Kock, Surya, stuff, all these guys are doing. The T20, modern T20 play. He's not even doing what Klaasen is doing because he does not have the body and the sort of the technique for it. But still, even in that narrow range, he's trying.
And imagine, this is the World Cup where his 130 strike rate, especially in New York, if he had played risk covers and instead of 119, if he had gotten to like 140, and if he had stayed, he would have gotten like a lot of runs, man. He just went for it even in that horrible New York pitch where batting was nearly impossible. He just threw his bat around. And that is a far more, you have to give a lot more credit to have that, inclination to go for it, even though if it's not your game. And even if the situation would have been, I mean, people would have praised him to heavens if he had gotten a 50 or 45 balls against Pakistan. He just went for it. And he went for it against USA. He went for it against Ireland. And, even against England, when it was not that great, he went for it. He got a 37 of 27 in one of these games against Afghanistan or Bangladesh. But he still kept trying to hit the ball. That is amazing.
Yeah, I think in a way the final was, entirely thanks to coincidence, played to his advantage, because they needed him to play the Kohli innings, right? I mean,
no, it was a close affair. It was a close affair. If South Africa had gotten those 7 runs, we would all be crucifying Kohli now.
I don't think so. I don't think we would have been crucifying Kohli for doing that after 34 for 3.
I mean, when I say we,
no, I don't think
us four. I don't mean us 4. I think the world at large would be crucifying him.
No, to the extent that there was criticism, like real time when he was playing their innings, it was only for the fact that he didn't score. He didn't try to score faster in the last 3 or 4 overs before getting dismissed. I don't think the consolidation that he did between, let's say, overs 3 and 14 or 13 was problematic. What was problematic was he couldn't accelerate from that point onwards. Accelerated soon enough. He did accelerate eventually with the last 10 balls, but he couldn't accelerate soon enough. And it's a fair criticism. I mean, it's not even a criticism. It's not like he didn't try. I mean, the standard Kohli thing is he bats, but here he was trying to hit. He could not hit.
Yeah, but also you're facing pretty good bowling, man. I mean, this is not. See, I'll tell you one thing.
No, but he was trying to time a single short ball.
I'll accept that in IPL when you get, you have 2 good bowlers and then 3 you can sort of try and think. South Africa have a good bowling attack. I mean, and it's understandable when you can't hit them. I mean, they're good. So it's okay. I mean, I don't think we should. Yesterday, Virat Kohli, you can say a lot of things about his entire T20 play, but I think yesterday, I don't think we can really point too much and get too. Anyway, but yeah.
India is so fortunate that we are playing this World Cup in this kind of conditions, where Kohli and Rohit, Rohit played a phenomenal innings against Australia, but I mean, if he does that 10 times, he's gonna pull it off once or twice. So the odds are not in his favor. But I mean, like Ashoka says, credit to them whether they're built for it or not. I mean, Rohit is built a little bit better for this than Kohli is in terms of his range of strokes. But really, both of them are not meant to be this futuristic T20 batsman.
And both of them are done also with T20 internationals.
Yes.
So,
but the fact that at least Rohit is committed to this for a while now, right? Both at IPL level and at international level, he's committed to playing
even in ODIs.
Even in ODIs, yeah. Sort of front loading and taking the chances in both ODIs and T20s. And he's stuck to it. Whether like the number of times he's gotten out to like reasonably cheap shots and cheap scores has not held him back, and that's a credit to them. And it's not easy to change at that age.
No, I think that's the credit. That's pretty much the sort of this whole era between 2021 and 2024, right? When Dravid and Rohit took over to now. I think that's the defining feature of the cricket that you can say. It's like they have committed to playing a certain level of certain style in T20. They have stuck to it. It has cost them on occasion, but overall they've stuck to it, and eventually it has brought on a victory. One dayers, it's similar. Again, Rohit has been leading the way by opening. They've committed. They played on Test cricket. They've committed. That Test cricket commitment started a little earlier with Shastri and Kohli with 5 bowlers, and that commitment has continued. They have never wavered from that attacking with 5 bowlers strategy, and that commitment has paid off. You can say it didn't win them the World Test Championship final, but it paid off. In Australia, it paid off. It's paid off consistently, and India's pretty much been the best Test team, I think, across the.
No, they have dropped KL Rahul, right? And KL Rahul was in reasonably good form in the IPL. He made a lot of runs. he could have been in the 11, and traditionally they would have picked him in the 11, but they made a conscious choice that, we can't have a top order of 4 batsmen, and then you can't expect your middle order to come and hit like 26s of 20 balls after we chew up a lot of deliveries. And they've stuck to a form.
They pushed Pant up. Yeah.
They pushed Pant up, and Pant consistently took risks. There was a time when he got out twice to reverse sweeps, in this match to a conventional sweep. And people were saying that this was bad shot selection. That was another thing yesterday. People are saying it's all bad shot selection.
What is shot selection in T20, man? Come on. You can't.
Same shots
from how you think of it.
Yeah. Same things got them a lot of runs against Australia, Bangladesh, Afghanistan. Same thing is getting him out now.
And that Pant wicket is a freak. It's not like he's going to get out like that every time he plays the sweep. It's just a freaky.
No, the problem with the Pant shot is the execution, not the selection. He didn't hit it well. That's all.
Yeah, and that happens.
That always happens. Exactly. Yeah. That's the point.
And this whole idea of shot selection in T20 is quite warped compared to a shot selection.
There could be, like, for instance, the Quinton de Kock one was a bit of a surprise for me, right? He hit a boundary there. They put a fielder in there. And so, okay, there are occasions where perhaps it's worth discussing, not criticizing, but it's worth discussing. Of course, it's entirely possible Quinton de Kock backed himself to play the boundary and he couldn't.
And he plays that shot all the time. And he's practiced it thousands of times. So he probably backed himself to say, okay, I'm going to go over the fielder anyway.
Yeah. It's worth discussing. I'm not saying worth criticizing. Like the way we talked about, I was a bit surprised that Surya hit it to the 1D fielder who was there. But of course, he was not trying to hit it there. He was trying to hit it square. So it's worth discussing there in such instances. But the fact that a dismissal should not be the cause of that discussion.
Yeah, exactly. That cannot be the starting point of the whole thing.
He got out there for it was bad. Like, Rohit, for instance. Rohit's shot was on. He was trying to attack. They got a good start. First over 3 boundaries. Next, he starts with 2 boundaries against Maharaj. He just hit him for a reverse sweep. So the next, he in fact, covered, like moved to the offside and tried to, predetermine and play on the leg side, play the sweep. The shot was on. He actually connected. Unfortunately, gave it to the only fielder who was there. Now, what possibly could you criticize there? The shot was on.
The same thing that they criticized for Pant with that Australia thing is what they'll criticize here. You got 2 boundaries, now play sensibly. There also he hit Sampa, I think, for 6, then or for a boundary. Then he gave a catch. He reverse swept.
But this is why India loses the finals all the time. They're like, you won so many matches, let's just play it safe.
Exactly.
Let's just take a single after hitting a boundary.
The last One-Day World Cup final. We won every match out there. Let's just take it easy this match. No, that's not how life works.
Yeah, this is the thing. It's like, if you want, you can say he should have done X, Y, Z, A, B, C, right? But there is a reason why he did something, and it didn't come off, which is part of cricket. So fair enough. So one other player we have to talk about who, I think is such a huge addition to the side. And the problem is half the time he's not there because of injury or some reason. Hardik. For the World Cup, had Hardik been there in that World Cup, the amount of flexibility that it offers for the 2023 World Cup, ODI World Cup. He wasn't there, right? He got injured. But I think this World Cup, the fact that he played through it and he's giving you solid, often he's giving you 4 solid overs, at least 3. Batting, he's giving you that fantastic hitting option below. I think that is linchpin. Him being there, him and Aksar being there are like so valuable. And that he can bowl at the depth. Imagine, like, if for instance, Hardik was injured, right? And then you have to play Siraj. And so Hardik gave you pretty much what you would expect from a frontline bowler in that last couple of overs that he bowled. Fantastic. Bumrah was great. Arshdeep was very good, but I think Hardik was also really good.
One good thing that I saw is that they have already announced the squad for the Zimbabwe tour. Nitish Reddy was part of it. He got injured, but but this is something that they have been thinking about. That they would need, multi-dimensional cricketers, or at least someone who bowls pace and can hit like 3 or 4 sixes and is not named Shardul Thakur. This is something that India has been thinking about quite regularly, and yeah, I mean, that's the direction they are going to go. They are going to find a lot of players who can bowl pace, or at least 135 plus, and can whack it.
I mean, that's why Dubey is also there, right? I mean, because he has the bowling option, the medium pace bowling option.
Exactly. See the team. See Australia. Stoinis, Mitchell Marsh when he can bowl, and Cameron Green. So they have 3 people in their squad who can at least among themselves bowl like 6-7 overs and can whack 20-25 very, very quickly. So those are the kind of players that will be in demand. I mean, next IPL and whatever that happens, I think India will be on search for a replacement for Hardik Pandya, because that is the problem. The replacement for Hardik Pandya, who is Nitish Reddy, has already gotten injured. These kind of players are...
So he's an apt replacement.
Yeah, but they are very injury prone. That's the problem.
That's what I'm saying. Like Hardik.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
also both Hardik and...
I'm just mentioning that no team is comfortable bowling spinners at the death. I mean, that is pretty clear for a long time. So that is why these kind of cricketers are so valuable, because they not only give you that hitting might in the batting, but they are also giving you an option of bowling those 2-3 last of the two, from 17th to 20th. They're giving you an option that they can bowl that, and every team is like, desperate for that, because then they can use their main bowlers before and then keep these fellows for the death. And so Hardik having those 2 overs at the end is sensational for India, and the fact that he was able to pull it off. Of course, there was the full toss to Miller, where the bat turned in his hand and the ball goes to, just before the boundary when the Surya takes that great catch. But even then, I mean, he was able to execute through those 2 overs.
See, even if Hardik didn't bowl all that well, or if he made half the runs, but his presence alone guarantees, his presence alone lets India play Kuldeep. If Hardik wasn't there, then how would they play Kuldeep? They can't play 2 pacers and 3 spinners. No, that won't fly. So he players like him are really important for captains to play around with their 11.
And both Hardik and Akshar are also for this particular Indian team, they also add so much hitting ability. Even of course, he's an all-rounder and he's worth his weight in gold. But just his sheer hitting ability in a team which has a dearth of hitters, like easy T20 style hitters, it is quite obvious, right? When you watch South Africa playing, Tristan Stubbs, Quinton de Kock, and Klaassen, their ability to hit the boundary is it's a lot better, because they're much better T20.
Yeah, but just think of it this way. Think of it if Tristan Stubbs could bowl 4 overs of medium pace. So that is, or Klaassen, forget Stubbs. If Klaassen could bowl 4 overs of medium pace, that is that extra bit that I think would be in the team, irrespective. As a batter, hitter, he's in the team. Yeah. But this is, and it reminds me of how, way back then, that is how Dravid that is why Dravid was so used to love Irfan Pathan back when he was captain, because Irfan Pathan used to give that team pretty much the same kind of flexibility, because Irfan Pathan not nowhere in the Hardik class in terms of hitting or anything, but yeah, he used to give them that flexibility. So similar, India has been searching, hoping for these kind of players for a long time, and hopefully in the near future we'll have 2 or 3.
So 2023, they were lucky, man. They were trying this. This is not some new knowledge. They were trying this from 2019 World Cup only. That they tried to somehow shove in 2-3 all-rounders. But these guys, A, they get injured. B, they have poor form. C, for some other reason, they are not available. Who? Jadeja, Akshar and Hardik. At the same time, they were never available. I think 2019 we went with Kedar Jadhav and Vijay Shankar, right? That caused a lot of controversy. Then 2021, I think we went with Deepak Huda. I think 2 World Cups we went with Deepak Huda or something. And Deepak Huda doesn't, he can hit, but he's not going to give you bowling like Jadeja or Akshar. So they had a lot of structural problems. And even if they had all these players, they had KL Rahul at the top who they couldn't sit. So they had a lot of problems. They solved it this time by saying, okay, fine, we will accommodate as many all-rounders as we can in the 11 and we will keep hitting.
Actually, I was thinking yesterday with Akshar, Jadeja, Hardik and Dubey in the team, India was pretty much giving vibes of South Africa from the days of the 90s and 2000s, when South Africa would have jam-packed with all-rounders like Klusner, Callis, Macmillan, all those famous all-rounders that they had. And they would bat pretty deep. Yeah.
And actually, South Africa was giving India vibes.
Yes.
Yeah.
South Africa stops batting at 7.
That's it.
And then after that, they have these specialists. So, yeah, I mean, in a way, you can say going back several years, you can see the reverse result happening, where India with that kind of team and fall short by 7 runs to a multi-dimensional South African team. So, yeah, it's a bit of a change there. Yeah, I mean, also in many ways, this World Cup, the fact that the title has come after so many years, is a sort of a culmination of a journey as well. And with Rohit retiring from T20 internationals, Kohli retiring, Jadeja announcing his retirement from T20 internationals, Dravid's tenure coming to an end, it sort of feels, Dravid's coaching tenure, sort of feels like a sort of the end of a journey. If India had lost yesterday, I mean, it would have still been a very, very fine phase in Indian cricket the last few years. But I think it just purely for the emotional side, it helps to have this victory. And it was nice to see him, Kohli giving him the trophy and him sort of acting getting so aggro with it and screaming. It was a good feel to have. So that's good to see. Of course, now it's like a new chapter. It'll be good to, interesting to see the Indian T20 team going ahead, the sort of structure of the team, the coach, the captain, and so on. But I think it's good. It's good to have culminated this journey. Of course, all of them will continue playing different, all these players will continue playing other formats, and we will continue to see them play, but it's just one form of exit.
No, say it as it is. This distraction is all nice, but WTC is what we are looking for. All this nonsense you have done very well.
WTC is what we are looking for. You, of course, are stuck in TFAR, and whether he will play the next year.
That is out of syllabus for this podcast. No, you guys never talk about IPL and things. You guys don't even watch T20s. It's rubbish.
I mean, the whole world is doing that, man. At least we are trying to do something little off beat. That's all. All right, good. So that brings us to the end of this T20 World Cup reviews. We have quite a bit of cricket coming up, quite a bit of Test cricket coming up. India play Tests at home, and we will bring you coverage of that, reviews of that, and also we will hopefully bring you some timeless podcasts and interviews in the next few weeks. Keep listening. We have a lot of archival material, archival podcasts. A couple of you have written to us saying that you have been listening to podcasts from 3-4 years ago, and we're glad that those are still holding up and you're able to, you're able to enjoy those podcasts. We always aim for our podcasts to be timeless and to be enjoyed whenever possible. So we are not getting too granular with the present, but trying to give you a big picture and trying to sort of explain what is happening in the game. So even like a few years down the line, if somebody was to listen to us, to understand what this T20 World Cup meant, how it was held, and what this victory means to India and Indian fans and the players who make the game such a wonderful game that it is. All right. 81allout.com is our website. At 81allout is our handle on X. You can, send us your feedback. I will link all the relevant pieces related to what we have discussed. Kartikeya, who has written a good piece actually about it. Kartikeya, as we spoke, has gone gaga over Bumrah as one would after such a win. And I'll link all that. Keep listening, and we'll see you in about a week or 10 days' time. Good night, and take care.
India have won the series. They're going to get back for two. India home. Lords goes wild.